हेलो एंड वेलकम एवरीवन, दिस इज प्रोफेसर सिद्धार्थ सुराना। आई होप यू गाइस आर डूइंग गुड। मैं तो हमेशा मस्ती रहता हूं। वेलकम टू एपिसोड नंबर 7 एमसीक्यू सीजन 2 एप्लीकेबल फॉर May 21 and November 21 attempt. CA final direct tax, minimum guarantee of 25 marks in MCQs. Remaining marks you can score from wherever you want, and this is minimum. You can, if possible, you can score up to 30 marks also. Most of my students who watched all the lectures, all till the last lecture last year, got marks in their 70s, 80s, late 60s, and when they verified their breakup of marks, all of them have scored 25 plus, 27, 28, somewhere around that in the MCQ part of the answer paper, because 70 marks and 30 marks are separate, as you are aware. For the common topics, even intermediate students can watch these lecture, but today's today's episode is going to cover TDS chapter for CA final. Very important chapter under normal circumstances also, and this time around also huge amendments have taken place, as you are aware. Main thing is that 25% rate reduction from 14th May due to COVID. So TDS rates are going to reduce in certain sections, but all the revision, all the amendments have already separately been discussed and uploaded. In fact, RTP lecture is also now uploaded, and now that students have requested, sir, I want only amendment, not the revision and amendment mixture. That is also under pipeline once we finish season 2. So lots of things coming up. Be connected with me. Stay tuned. For the time being, we will start page number 93. Question number 1. TDS. A cooperative society having gross receipt of 10 lakh in the immediately preceding financial year paid 20,000 as interest to its members on 1st July 2020. TDS required to be deducted under section 194A. See, normally when a cooperative society pays interest to members, no TDS. But we know there is an amendment. If the turnover last year exceeded 50 crore rupees, then this year TDS will be applicable. But their turnover is only 10 lakh rupees, and therefore any interest to members, no TDS. 194DA requires TDS deduction for commission, no. Insurance commission, no. It is insurance company paying to policy holders on maturity proceed, which are not exempt. Obviously, if it is exempt income, there is no question of TDS. Tax deducted under section 194D, that is insurance commission. So DA is maturity of policy, but D is when the company is paying commission to its agent, has to be deducted only if the amount of insurance commission paid during the financial year exceeds rupees the monetary limit. See, when it comes to 194D, it falls in the irrelevant, useless part of the chapter, not at all important, but yes, there is a monetary limit of rupees 15,000. X Incorporation, a non-resident company, paid 21,000 on 1/1/24 to Tina, a resident, as commission for the purpose of soliciting insurance business. That means, can I say Tina is an agent and they are paying commission, insurance commission? TDS will be deducted under which section and what is the rate? See, when we are paying insurance commission, then H will not apply. H is for commission other than lottery and insurance. This is contracted, this is professional fees. So automatically the answer will become 194D. And then if this is the only answer, then we have to go with it and we have to choose 3.75 as our answer. There is a little controversy in this rate. If you go and read the section 194D, there they have said at the rates in force, that they have not given this rate. But ICAI study material, some articles, some authors, everywhere they are saying 5% is going to be the rate of TDS. Because 194D is such an irrelevant provision, not at all relevant for exam purposes. That is why they don't have any tendency of giving any importance or respect to this section 194D. But then 194D, 3 points. And now here there is only one option, and going by the ICAI study material, up to 13th May 5% and from 14th May 3.7, we will go ahead with that and choose that our answer. 194D casts responsibility on any person to deduct TDS on insurance commission, dash percent up to 13th May and dash during the year, during 14th to 31st. See, this is not salary related, this is not non-resident, and this is not prohibition. There are only 3 cases where relaxation will not apply. 2 sections of salary, 3 sections of prohibition, and the non-resident payment. What are the 2 salary sections? 192, 192A, salary and RPF. 3 prohibition section, 194B, double B, casual winning, horse races and withdrawal from bank, 194N, and any payment to non-resident. These 3 cases reduction will not apply. Everywhere else it will be applicable. So normal rate is 5%, but after COVID it will become 3.75. This was after COVID only. So 3.75 was in the option. Mr. Adinath, the resident, is due to receive 3,25,000 on 31st March 21 on LIC policy taken on 31st March 12, for which sum assured is 3 lakh and annual premium is 55,000. When the policy is taken in 11-12, the premium limit is going to be 20%. From 1-4-12, it became 10%, and for handicapped from 1-4-13 again it became 15. But this will be 20%. If you do 20%, you get 60,000. This premium is within the limit. If it is within the limit, then it will be exempt, and if it is exempt, there is no question of TDS. Rate of deduction of TDS for payment of LIC maturity proceeds. Now, this is not that commission, this is maturity proceeds. So, 194 DA. Earlier, some years ago, it used to be 1%, but now it is changed. On the taxable income component, 5%. And COVID relaxation will apply. So, it is going to become 3.75. So, before COVID 5, after COVID 3.75. Wishcraft and Company is a proprietorship with a turnover of 40 lakh in previous year 1920. It made a payment of 6 lakh to Thisara Perera, a Sri Lankan cricketer. What will be the TDS? You may wonder, sir, 194J, therefore last year turnover exceeding 1 crore or 50 lakh, then only TDS. But the truth is that we are paying to a non-resident sportsman. And when that is applicable, then 194 AC HIJ of last year's rule is not applicable. TDS has to be deducted. And what is the rate for non-resident foreign national sportsmen? 20% plus HEC will make it 20.8. See, if they give you an option 20 and 20.8 both, then 20.8 is better option because it will include HEC. But supposingly, this question gave you 0, 5, 10 and 20. Then the most appropriate answer will be 20 on the assumption that they are asking you basic rate. And we know that for non-resident, we will be applying TDS rate and HEC also. So, if 20, 20.8 both are given, then 20.8 is more appropriate. But if only 20 was given, then we have to choose that. Because in MCQs, it is always about the most appropriate answer. Mr. Dimitri Vegas, a world's best DJ rated. Dimitri Vegas rated as world's best DJ. And with him, एक टोपी वाला आदमी comes, Marshmallow, टोपी पहन के आता है. Mr. Dimitri Vegas came for a concert in India organized by Wingcraft and he was paid 90 lakh on 6th March 21. How much TDS is required to be deducted on the payment made to Dimitri Vegas? Now, can we say he is a non-resident foreign national entertainer? And for that, J will not apply. Obviously, it is not contractor or commission. This, like the previous case, 194E, 20.8%. Under section 194G, that is payment of commission on sale of lottery tickets. Payer should be dash and payee should be dash. The payer can be any company, any person who is paying the lottery commission. And for 194G, because the rate is only 5% or 3.575, it will be only resident. If it is a non-resident, then we have to go for 195I. So, payee has to be resident and payer can be any person. Who is required to deduct TDS on payment of commission under section 194? ACHIJ, all 5 sections. All persons other than individual HUF. Individual HUF, if last year's turnover exceeded 1 crore in business or 50 lakh in profession. So, firm, yes. Company, yes. Individual with turnover exceeding 1 crore, yes. All of the above. Threshold limit for deduction of TDS of non-resident sports person under 194E. When you pay to non-resident, you have to apply applicable rate. And for sports person, the applicable rate is flat 20. There is no basic exemption. If there is no basic exemption, there cannot be any threshold. Every rupee will attract TDS. TDS at dash is attracted on payments made by RBI to a bank for tax collection under section 194H. Whenever RBI is making payment to bank for helping the government in tax collection, then no TDS. RBI to bank for tax collection, no TDS. BSNL paid commission of 20,000 to PCO franchisee on 1/4/20. How much TDS? This also falls in exception of 194H. Whenever RBI is paying commission to banks for tax collection, no TDS. And whenever MTNL or BSNL are paying commission to PCO franchisee, no TDS. No deduction under 194H, that is commission, is required if the amount of such income does not exceed. What is the monetary threshold in ACHIJ, ACHIJ? You need to know the rates and monetary limits. Monetary limit for 194H is 15,000. So, these lectures are also like an indirect revision. In a chapter like TDS, your rates and monetary limits are getting revised the moment you are. Some of these questions may appear to be very simple to you, and that is the reason I have seen the tendency of students that initially they watch, now they feel that, oh, it's too easy, I'll do it on my own. But that on my own, वो कभी होता नहीं, वो time आता नहीं. That time never comes. That on my own never happens. So it is now or never. When I am doing this for you, willing to support you, then obviously you should also support me by watching the lectures. It is as simple as that. And if you don't support me, it won't make any difference to me because my lectures are already uploaded. Whoever has to watch will watch. Whoever does not watch, it is your loss, because that is where the difference in marks lies. There are students in 70s, 80s and late 60s, and then there are students, and those who did not clear, the first question I asked them, did you watch all MCQ revision amendment lecture? No sir, I watched 2, 3, then I thought I will watch later, but I did not get time. Disaster हो गया उसका, खत्म, टाटा बाय बाय, खत्म. राहुल गांधी बोलता ना, खत्म, टाटा बाय बाय. State whether true or false. In case of banks where credit of interest is made to provisioning account on daily or monthly basis for macro monitoring, we all know TDS is required to be deducted. No, TDS is not. Macro monitoring, no TDS. 194A puts liability to deduct TDS on interest under section 194A on whom? Same answer, no. All person other than individual HUF. So any person, no. Company, no. That way it is yes. Okay, if there is an option like all of the above, then it can be yes. Any person except individual HUF not having turnover exceeding 1 crore in business or 50 lakh in the profession in the last year. Okay, so individual HUF whose turnover did not exceed 1 crore or 50 lakh does not require to deduct. Everybody else, including those individual HUF whose turnover exceeded the limit, required to deduct. Under section 194A, that is TDS on payment of interest, payer should be who and payee should be who? Payee has to be resident because it's a fixed rate. Payer can be any person. It depends on any person. Payee has to be resident, payer can be any person. It depends on whether you are individual HUF, then we will see last year's turnover. For company firm always, you can be anybody, residential status is irrelevant. Bank of India Limited Bank paid 35,000 interest on time deposits to Mr. Annu, age 65 years on 31st March 21. What is the TDS? FD interest will attract TDS, no? So what's your answer? Apply the rate 10%, then see post-COVID. So nonsense. No TDS, because monetary limit only of 194A is 40,000. This is 35. And in fact, Mr. Annu is 65 for senior citizen payee. It will be not even 40, it will be 50,000. Anyways, no TDS. Bank of India paid 7,000 interest on time deposit to Mr. Annu, age. This time he is 35. But it is still 7,000. And at 7,000, once again, there is going to be no TDS. Rate of TDS under 194A up to 13th May was what? Old rate 10 and post COVID 7.5. ABC partnership firm gave interest of 25,000 to each of its partners ABC on 31st March 21. What is the TDS required to be deducted? Whenever there is any interest transaction between firm and partners, no TDS. Bank paid 15,000 as saving account interest to Mr. Sunny, age 35 years. What is the TDS? First of all, 35. So that limit will be 40,000. This is less than that. And secondly, saving account interest, even if it is exceeding the monetary limit, there is TDS only on FD RD interest. There is no TDS on saving account interest. Mr. Babulal has taken a loan from a bank of 1,50,000 on 29 March 20. Babulal paid rupees 15,000 as interest to bank on 31st March 21. Mr. Babulal's turnover in business is 3 crore in the previous year 1920. What is the TDS? So last year his turnover exceeded the limit. He is an individual. So will he deduct the amount also? Amount of interest is 15,000. Will he deduct? No, because whenever the payee is bank or financial institution, when bank will pay you, they will deduct. But when you pay to the bank, it's like an EMI getting deducted. No TDS. TDS on interest is not required to be deducted under 194A in which situation? Interest paid by banking company to individual if the amount exceeds 40,000. It is required to be deducted. Question is saying not required. So wrong. Interest paid by firm to company if amount exceeds 5. So when bank is payer, then 40 or 50 is applicable. Otherwise normally 5. So required to be deducted. Wrong answer. Question is asking not required. Interest on FD made in name of Registrar General of Court. This is the answer. Amount paid by partnership firm to LLP. If it exceeds 5,000, here also you have to deduct. But the question is asking not required to be deducted. There is a UCO Bank case law also in TDS chapter that when the FD is in dispute, then it will be staying with the custodian of the court. And the bank has to pay interest to that custodian, the registrar. And the actual pay is unknown because the court dispute is not yet settled. If the pay is only not known, how can we deduct? If we deduct also, whose credit we will deposit? Obviously, the registrar general cannot get the TDS credit. And therefore, it was held that if the pay is unknown because the FD is under dispute and the FD receipts are in the custody of the court, then there will be no TDS. UCO Bank case law in the TDS chapter. Interest paid by partnership firm to Ms. Narayan, who is a debtor of 60,000 on 29 March 21. Turnover of the firm in business last year was 40 lakh. To hell with it. Only for individual HUF we have to check last year turnover. For firm we will not check. What is the TDS required to be deducted? If we are paying interest, then TDS has to be deducted. This is irrelevant. We are a partnership firm. So now we will apply the rate of 194A, that is 10%, but post COVID it will become 7.5. So 60,000 into 7.5%, you will get your answer of 4,500. Interest on income tax refund received by Cyrus, a resident of 12,000 from central government. Whenever you get interest on income tax or wealth tax refund, it is also one of the exceptions of 194A, therefore no TDS. 194B, that is TDS on winning from lottery, crossword puzzle and horse races, will be applicable when payer can be any person, he will be the bet loser and payee will be the winner. And in 194B and BB, they have given both. If payee is resident, then 30%, non-resident, then 30 plus SC plus HEC. Accordingly, payer, payee, both can be any person. 194C, that is TDS on payment to contractor and subcontractor, shall be applicable when the payer is. Now, here, payer has to be same, individual HUF, but then residential status is irrelevant. So, payer can be any person, but payee has to be resident because it is only 1%, 2% TDS rate. If the payee is non-resident, then we go to 195 and therefore any person and resident. 29A. Mr. Krishna won prize in lottery ticket and price was Maruti car worth 5 lakh on 31st March 21. What will be the TDS? There will be TDS. 30%, which is 1 lakh 50. Don't use your excessive brain, sir. Post COVID, no reduction. This is prohibitory section. So 150. But yes, there is a procedure that you first pay to the government and show the proof, or you pay to the payer and get your price released. But this way or that way, on 5 lakh, we will apply 30% and get your TDS of 150 deducted. Mr. Om Mathur, resident, won 10,000 from KBC on 31st March 21. TDS required to be deducted from Mr. Om Mathur under section 194B will be, once again you feel 3,000, but the monetary limit given in 194B is 10,000 and equal to is not covered. Equal to is covered in 192A, 194DA and 194IA and the new equalization levy of 2 crore. Here it is going to be, my dear ladies and gentlemen, exact 10,000, no TDS. It has to be greater than 10,000. Individual will deduct TDS only if turnover in the preceding previous year exceeds in business 1 crore or profession 50 lakh. This criteria is applicable to 194 ACHIJ. So A yes, C yes, H yes, all of the above. Hira Exports has entered into a contract with bus company MNS Limited, which is a resident, for providing bus facilities to their staff and paid 1,20,000 in the financial year to MNS Limited. What is the TDS required to be deducted? So listen, payer, Hira Exports, not given whether individual HUF, so we cannot assume what it is. It has to be covered. Amount is 1,20,000. Payee is a company and paid for the purpose of business, and therefore there is going to be TDS. Whenever the payee is individual HUF, rate is 1%. Whenever payee is other than individual HUF, rate is 2%. And because the rate is 2%, your mind may be saying that 1,20,000 into 2%, you may be getting the answer as 2,400, but the payment is made on 31st March. This is that rare year, May 21, November 21, where date of payment will decide the rate of TDS, and post-COVID in 194C, it will become 1.5% and accordingly 1,800 will be your answer, which is 75% of 2,400. If it was pre-COVID, then 2,400 will be our answer. ABC REIT gave its building on rent to Mr. Q. Total rent to be received from Mr. Q is 2,50,000. TDS required to be deducted under 194I. Whenever there is payment of rent to REIT getting rental income is exempt, and whenever there is exempt income, on exempt income there is no question of TDS. In which of the following situation TDS is not required to be deducted on payment to contractor under section 194C? Payment made by individual HUF for personal purpose, 194C and J both sections, no TDS. Single payment is up to rupees 30,000, no TDS. Aggregate up to 1 lakh, no TDS. That means all of the above, no TDS. Rate of TDS under 194C on payment to contractor will be would be dash where the pay is individual HUF and dash in respect of other pay. For individual HUF, if the pay is individual HUF, then 1% and other than individual HUF, 2. So you have to carefully observe. First blank is 1 and second blank is 2. 1 and 2. That's option C. Section 194I is not applicable for some transactions. Which are they? Payment made by customer to CNF agent. That goes in 194C. So correct hai. When payment of rent does not exceed 240, correct, that's the monetary limit, so not applicable, correct. Remittance of passenger service fees by airline to operator, that Japan Airlines, Singapore Airlines case law, it will get covered in 194C. So all three will get covered somewhere else. This won't get covered anywhere. The remaining will get covered in 194C, and accordingly 194I will not be applicable on all of the above. No deduction is required to be made under section 194I where the amount of such income paid during the financial year does not exceed. What is the monetary limit? 2,40,000. If it does not exceed 240, no TDS. Rate of TDS under section 194IA, that is sale of property, up to 13th May and during the period after. So, sale of property 194IA, 50 lakh or more. What is the rate of TDS? 1%. And after COVID, it will become 0.75. So, it is going to be 1% and 0.75. Under section 194IA, that is TDS on payment for immovable property is not applicable to residential flat applicable, industrial building applicable, vacant land applicable, but rural agricultural land not applicable because rural agricultural land is not a capital asset. Urban it is applicable because sale is taxable. Only in compulsory acquisition urban not applicable. But here only rural. 194IA, that is TDS on payment for transfer of certain immovable property other than agricultural land. Transferor should be dash, transferee should be dash. Till now in all the sections we have been writing payer, pay, payer, pay. So your mind must be saying for the first blank we have to see the payer. Payer can be any person, and second blank pay has to be resident. So payer any person, pay resident. That's the rule in 194IA. Payer any person, pay resident. So you might be thinking, sir, any person, resident, any person, and end up choosing D as your answer. That will create disaster because here they have not asked you payer, pay, they have asked you transferor and transferee. And transferor of property is basically the buyer. If you transferor of property is basically the seller, if you understand. So we are talking about the seller and transferee is the buyer. And therefore, do you understand? The buyer is going to be the payer and the seller is going to be the pay. In other words, in all the other similar questions, first blank was payer, second blank was pay. But here first blank is pay, second blank is payer. Simple thing, if you don't notice, you can go wrong. So first blank should be resident and second blank can be any person, and accordingly the answer that you will choose is B. You may make the mistake of choosing D as your answer and end up losing mark in a simple question like this. Tax deducted under section 194IA shall be paid to the central government. What is the requirement? Deduct TDS and within 30 days from the end of the month in which the deduction is made, you have to do your payment, come return both. Normally it is 7th of the next month, but for IA and in fact IB also that 30 days from the end of the month in which the deduction is made. Every person responsible for 194IA TDS certificate. See, salary it is 16, all other sections 16A, but for IA it is 16B. Which of the following situations under section 194IA not applicable? Compulsory acquisition of land not applicable because IA is a section for sale. Compulsory acquisition is covered in LA. Less than 50 lakh not applicable because it has to be equal to or greater than 50 lakh. And rural agricultural land is not a capital asset, accordingly all of the above. Form 16B TDS certificate has to be submitted within how many days? And TDS certificate fixed rule. There is due date of payment come return. From there 15 days for all others. Form 16, 16A, 16B, everywhere it is 15 days from payment come return. Liability to deduct TDS in the case of salary. Credit payment earlier or not to deduct, salary will come in the list of 9 cases where TDS will come only at the time of payment. For deducting TDS under section 192, employer will consider the following. He will consider salary. You give details of other income, he will consider that also. And particulars of loss under the head income from house property. Particulars of loss under house property. So losses he will consider only house property, accordingly all of the above. Rate of deduction of TDS under section 192 is, for salary there is no prescribed rate. So full tax at applicable rates and therefore average of the rate computed. Proof is required to be submitted by employee to employer giving the particulars of, for HRA, where what is the name, address and PAN of the landlord, you have to furnish if it is exceeding 1 lakh rupees. For leave travel concession, if you are taking, then your tickets with evidence. Information about deduction of interest. Proof regarding chapter 6. Whenever you are claiming any deduction, exemption or benefit, you have to give evidence with respect to that, and thus in respect of all these cases, evidence has to be furnished. Employer shall furnish to employees a statement in form number dash to give correct and complete particulars of perquisite or profit in lieu of salary. So, form 16, 26 QB, they are all your TDS certificate or TDS return forms. If I as an employer, I am providing you perquisite, then I will give you the valuation, value the perquisite and give you the statement so that you can accordingly find out what is the taxable perquisite that you have earned. That is submitted by employer to employee in form number 12BA. The form for this purpose created is 12B. If employee makes withdrawal before continuous service of dash years, RPF withdrawal will be taxable and you will not get exemption. What is the premature amount? Minimum you have to invest for a period of 5 years, and if you withdraw before 5 years, taxable. So it has to be invested up to at least 5 years for getting exemption. Mr. Wasim is an employee of Jubilant Food Works Limited since 5th June 17 and he is resigned on 31st March 21. Withdrew 45,000 being the balance in his EPF account. Calculate the amount of TDS. First question, taxable or exempt? He has not completed 5 years. I think he has resigned in less than 4 years. So taxable, 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 taxable. So deduct TDS 10%. Post-COVID 7.5. First of all, that post-COVID point is not applicable only. 190 to 192. So 10, 4,500. Gaya, khatam, tata, finish, bye-bye, mar gaya. Monetary limit 50,000. Equal to is covered. RPF equal to is covered. And so if it was exact 50 also, yes, TDS. But less than monetary limit, no TDS. But sir, no TDS does not mean it is exempt. Once you don't complete 5 years, taxable, but no TDS. Ms. Jaina is an employee of hotel company. Employer distributed tips received from customer to Jaina. These tips are taxable in the hands of her under which of the following heads? Salary, other sources, exempt or PGBP. This is based on that Supreme Court judgment of ITC Limited, first case law in TDS chapter after the chapter gets over. This will not be taxable under salary because the employer is not paying. Customers have given the money. In fiduciary capacity, employer is holding as a custodian and therefore taxable under income from other sources. Under section 192A, that is deduction of TDS on premature taxable withdrawal, TDS that has to be deducted when the employee does not furnish PAN. When you furnish PAN, it is 10. No COVID relaxation. So 10. But if you don't furnish PAN, normally it is 20%. But for 192A, it will be MMR, and that new section 194O, it is going to be 5%. Mr. Rajesh purchased 7.75% saving taxable bonds on 2018 on 1/4/20 and received interest of 8,000 on this bonds. TDS of Mr. Rajesh, the 7.75% savings taxable bonds, they are an exception given in 193, which is also not an important section, interest on securities, and thus the TDS attracted is going to be 0. 193, that is deduction of TDS on interest on securities, casts responsibility on dash payer and dash pay. So now this time first blank is payer, second blank is pay. Payee has to be resident. Payee cannot be any person, but payer can be any person, and accordingly it is going to be D. Togani Limited paid interest on debentures of rupees 6,500 to resident Mr. Lalit. TDS under section 193 required to be deducted is, so this is interest on debentures, so interest on securities, TDS is going to get attracted in this case. Normally the rate in 194C is 10%, but because it is post-COVID, so instead of 10 we will apply 7.5%, and 6,500 into 7.5% will give you TDS as 488. State whether 194C is applicable in the following cases. Transportation charges paid by the purchaser to owner of natural gas who transports the gas for purchaser, and transportation charges paid by purchaser to third party who transported the gas sold by the owner. So listen, I am buying gas from seller of gas. If I pay him for gas including transport, that means basically this is an all-inclusive payment. I am paying for the purchase of gas and the transportation is included. So when I am directly paying to the owner of natural gas and that purchase is inclusive of transport charges, so you have to deliver at my place, then it is basically purchase of goods and therefore it cannot attract TDS. So first is going to be no, and therefore A and B are eliminated. But when I am buying from the seller and seller is not giving me transportation, there is a third party who will transport. So for the seller, I will give only payment for gas. Seller, I will pay only for gas, and transportation I will pay to this independent third party. So this time I am not buying any goods from him. I am paying him only transportation charges. So that is going to attract TDS, and accordingly it is going to be no for the first transaction, but yes for the second transaction. Mr. Mihir is engaged in the business of hiring goods carriages and owned 6 carriages during 2021. He received 45,000 from Nina Private Limited for hiring of goods carriage on 1/4/20. He furnished his declaration along with pen to Meena. So yes, it is exceeding the monetary limit, but if pen and declaration both furnished and he is not owning more than 10 carriages, then in that case, he will be escaping the applicability of TDS. Section 194 IB, that is TDS on payment of rent. I is also rent, but IB is individual HUF who are not exceeding that monetary limit of 1 crore or 50 lakh last year. So individual HUF with turnover exceeding last year, no. Company, no. All persons, no. Individual HUF whose turnover did not exceed last year. So if you are not deducting in 194I but paying more than 50,000 per month or part, then deduct in IB. Rate of TDS under IB will be dash up to 13th May and dash during the remaining period. See, that way you have to deduct on the last month of the year. So anyways till 13th May not possible. But in case the tenancy is vacated, then last month of the tenancy. So till 13th May, it was, what is the rate? 5%, but post-COVID it will become 3.75. So 5%, but post-COVID 3.75. Mr. Ramavat paid rent of 7,20,000, that is 60,000 per month for financial year 2021. Ramavat has turnover in the business last year 85 lakhs. So if this exceeded 1 crore, then he will get covered in 194I, but not exceeding 1 crore, then he will be covered in 194IB. This is a case of IB, and the amount is more than 50,000 per month. Accordingly, IB will get attractive. Is he required to deduct TDS? Yes. He is not required to do it every month. Directly last month. Last month is March. So 7,20,000. Earlier it was 5, but post-COVID we will apply 3.75%. And on 7,20,000, when you apply 3.75%, then in the month of March, the TDS that will become applicable will be 27,000 rupees. Under section 194 IB, tax has to be deducted at source only if the amount of such rent exceeds rupees. What is the monetary threshold? 50,000 rupees per month. State whether true or false. Deduction under section 194 IB is to be made at the time of credit of rent for the last month of the year or last month of the tenancy. So it is not required to be complied every month, last month of the year, or if vacated then last month of the tenancy, and therefore the given statement is true. 194 IB requires deduction of TDS. This is important. I covers all assets, but IB, anyways, for plant machinery there is hardly any probability that you pay more than 50,000 per month as rent, because you can rather pay that much EMI and become the owner. So unless it is a very big and complicated machinery, we don't know about that. Otherwise, generally it will be land and building. And let me be clear, 194 IB specifically mentioned that this section is applicable only to land and building. Which of the following sections of TDS 10 is not required to be taken? There are two cases when no 10 is required. IA is once in a lifetime, IB is once in a year, and for this we don't require monthly payment or quarterly return. So for IA and IB, no need for any 10. 194J, TDS on payment of professional fees or technical services. If the payee is engaged in the business of operation of call center, then what is the TDS? For call center, we already had the exception of 2%. This year in 194J, some more amendments have taken place, and FTS has completely gone in 2%. Then royalty with respect to films has also gone in 2%. Call center, there is no amendment. It was always 2% only since a few years. So before COVID 2, but after COVID it will become 1.5. 194J is applicable for professional fees, yes. FTS, yes. Royalty, yes. Non-compete. In fact, director sitting fees is also covered. So yes, all of the above. 194 IC, cast IC, that is, IC is what? Joint development agreement. Any person responsible for paying to residents sum by way of consideration specified under an agreement. 45(5)(a) is joint development agreement. To deduct income tax, what is the rate? Joint development agreement on the amount of monetary consideration up to 13th May 10%, and post COVID it will change to 7.5%. In which of the following conditions TDS under section 194J will not be applicable? Not applicable. Payment made by individual HUF for personal purpose, correct answer. Payment made by individual HUF turnover last year is 90 lakh rupees, which is not exceeding 1 crore, correct. Payment does not exceed 30,000, that is also correct, and thus the most appropriate answer that we will select is going to be your option D. XYZ Limited makes a payment of rupees 28,000 to Mr. Mohan on 2nd August 2020 towards professional fees, and another payment of rupees 25,000 on the same date towards FTS. So total is 53. You may get a feeling, sir, 10% post-COVID 7.5. But what if I tell you that the limit of 30,000 is for every individual payment? Professional fees, FTS, royalty, non-compete, only director sitting fees, there is no limit, so every rupee will attract TDS. But because both individual amounts are less than 30,000, there is going to be no TDS. Mr. Harish transferred a computer software to Mr. Prakash for rupees 50,000. And Mr. Prakash paid 50,000 and deducted TDS under section 194. So let's be very honest. This is sale of software, not royalty. If I give my software for usage and you pay me royalty, then 194J is attracted. When I am selling goods, it is sale of software. There is no question of TDS. Still Mr. Prakash deducted over compliance. And Mr. Harish is a gone case. He does not know that TDS is not applicable. He accepted. Let me be clear. TDS not applicable, but deducted. No problem. For the payer, no problem. He has deducted and deposited. And for the payee, he will get credit. There is no loss. TDS is never a loss. If deducted, you get credit. Not applicable and deducted, there is no problem. Problem comes when TDS is applicable but not deducted. Not applicable and deducted, no problem. Applicable but not deducted, that is where problem will arise. Yes or no? So no problem. Till now, no problem. Prakash further transferred this computer software to Mr. Amit for 70,000. Basically, Mr. Prakash is therefore a trader. Buying at 50, selling at 70. It's a good purchase, not for usage, not royalty. Then gave a declaration. Declaration is also not required. TDS required to be deducted by Mr. Amit. Anyways, it is nil because it is only sale of goods. Rate of TDS under section 194 LA, that is TDS on payment of compensation of acquisition of immovable property. That is what rate? In most cases, it is 10%, and then due to COVID, it will become 7.5%. TPA made payment to hospital on behalf of insurance company for settlement of medical claims, where the TDS is required to be deducted by TPA. Yes, see, when we take cashless insurance, so there is a third party administrator. What is the responsibility of the TPA? Insurance companies' business is only to sell policies. Sell policy, sell policy, sell policy. And if there is a claim, process the claim. But to check the claim paper, whether it is correct or no, whether it is defect, they appoint a TPA. So you are like a business process outsourcing. You are going to do that on my behalf. So TPA will check and give money to the hospital and later get the money and its commission from the, or its payment from the insurance company. But here the TPA is making payment to hospital. That means, is it in the nature of professional fees? Hospital is giving you the professional services, and normally hospital bill is personal expense, so no TDS. But for the TPA, it is not a personal expense, it is a business expense, and therefore TDS under 194J is going to be applicable. Central government compulsorily acquired immovable property of Mr. D'Souza and paid 1,70,000 to him on 31st March. TDS. You may feel, sir, post-COVID 7.5? Nonsense. What is the monetary limit of 194 LA? 2,50,000, payment is 170. No TDS. So rates, monetary limits, extremely important. Without that, you can never answer any question of TDS correctly. 194 LB requires deduction of TDS by infrastructure debt fund on payment of interest to whom? Infrastructure debt fund to non-resident individual. TDS will get deducted. So, and that 5% as we are aware. LA requires deduction of TDS on payment of compensation on acquisition of, compulsory acquisition can only be in respect of immovable property. Indian company paid 55,000 as interest on long-term bonds to Miss Deepika, non-resident, for financial year 2021. She did not furnish her PAN to the Indian company. So what will be the TDS? So normally when PAN is not furnished, it is going to be 20. But for this section 194 LC, where Indian company on long-term bonds to promote investment or attract capital from non-resident, there is a relaxation provided. Without PAN also, section 206 AA, for this payment, section 206 AA will not be applicable, and accordingly 20 will not apply, and the normal rate of 5% which is applicable to non-resident will be applicable. Normally 20 will apply if PAN is not furnished, but for 194 LC exception is prescribed. TDS under section 194 LD for TDS on interest on government securities or rupee denominated bonds of an Indian company paid to FII or QFI for a temporary period 17 September 18 to 31st March 19, relaxation was given. But here there is no 0% in the option also. So it is not for the temporary. Normally it is going to be for FII and QFI on rupee denominated bonds. It is going to be 5%. And listen, if in the same question now, this is what I was explaining some time back. I don't know whether you paid attention. If there was one more option saying 5.2, then that is more appropriate because with HEC. But when with HEC the option is not given, then you have to take the basic. In that the most appropriate is 5. In MCQ, let me be clear, let me correct this mistake. There is no one final answer in MCQ also. So some people were thinking, sir, in MCQ, it is right or wrong. There can be two correct answers and the rule is you have to choose the most appropriate answer. 5 is right, 5.2 is also right. This is with HEC, more appropriate than you choose this. But in the question, if 5.2 is not given, then you choose 5. MCQ is about most appropriate answer. And these other people don't understand this. So what they will do is they will compare suggested answer, they will show your booklet and chalo, let's protest against ICAI. Let's give a dharna. It does not work that way. Institute clearly says most appropriate, but they don't understand language. They don't understand the law. They just know how to instigate students, how to create an atmosphere of distrust towards the institute. This does not work that way. Okay. So you should understand, read any mock test paper of institute. Whenever institute has given MCQ question answer, in your suggested questions, anywhere, in RTP, they say choose the most appropriate answer. Here it will be 5%. Rate of TDS under section 194 LB, that is interest from infrastructure debt fund. For infrastructure debt fund, which is paying to non-resident, what is going to be the rate of TDS? Once again, if 5.2 was given, then we would have chosen 5.2, but if only 5 is given, we'll choose 5. ABC Limited, a domestic company, paid dividend of 1,20,000 to Smith non-resident. TDS required to be deducted. If resident is paid, then 194 will be applicable, 10% and 7.5. But if we pay to non-resident, then we have to deduct TDS at rates applicable, at the rates applicable. And for non-resident, there is a section 115A which says dividend income from business trust 10%, but Indian companies other than business trust 20%. And as per 115A, the rate that will be applicable will be not the rates in force. If it is a slab rate income like interest is also not slab rate, that's also flattened. Like rental income or professional fees, something like that, then we will say rates in force. But for any income where special rate is prescribed, for dividend income under 115A, there is a prescribed special rate of 20. Then accordingly, you have to deduct 20%. So if it was resident, we would have chosen 10 or 7.5 after COVID. But for non-resident, there is only one rate, 20. And for non-resident fees, there is no COVID relaxation, as you are aware. TDS under section 195 is required to be deducted by dash of dash 195 of who? Of non-resident. Of non-resident. So this will go away. By who? By who? Most people think resident will deduct of non-resident, but the truth is payer can be resident or non-resident. Both. The criteria is that the income should be taxable in India. If the income is taxable in India, TDS will be applicable. Yes, pay will be NR, but payer can be any person accordingly, any person non-resident. State whether true or false. Section 195 requires deduction of tax on any payment made to non-resident by resident or non-resident. In this section, non-resident will deduct TDS of another non-resident only if the former has business connection in India. No. No. The income should be taxable in India. Supposingly there is no business connection, if the payment is made in India, story finished. Khatam, tata, bye bye. If the income is taxable in India, business connection or no connection, irrelevant. Any income taxable in India, TDS will get affected. Mr. Y paid 5,50,000 as commission to mutual fund on 31st March 21. TDS required to be deducted. Whenever the payee is central government, state government, local authority, RBI, mutual fund, any case where income is exempt, no TDS. Payment to mutual fund, no. Mutual fund distributing profit to you will deduct TDS, new section 194. You will not deduct. State whether true or false. Payer is compulsorily required to deduct TDS at rates specified in respective section. He cannot deduct at lower rate. No, sir. We have certain cases where low TDS, no TDS options are available. If we submit our form 15G, 15H, form 13, then sometimes we get the facility of lower TDS. Given statement is false. Partnership firm paid a rent of 3,20,000 on 31st March 21 to Miss Shraddha, resident age 50 years, for machinery taken on rent. That's 31st March and that's machinery. 31st March and machinery. Be careful about both. It is 31st March, it is machinery. So what is the normal rent TDS? When firm is paying, then 194, I will get applicable. Last year turnover irrelevant. Rate is 10%, but for plant and machinery, it is 2%. Land, building, furniture, 10%. Plant, machinery, equipment, 2%. And post-COVID, that 2 will become 1.5%. So be careful. I will be applicable 2% and post-COVID 1.5%. But what else is given? Ms. Shraddha furnishes declaration in writing in duplicate to partnership firm that tax on her estimated total income of previous year in which the income is included is nil. It is possible because she may get standard deduction, other deduction. TDS required to be deducted by the partnership firm. Basically, she has given a declaration. It's nothing but form 15G. And do we know that resident individual, in fact anybody other than company or firm, are allowed to submit form 15G for certain sections, and 194I is covered in those sections. And if we submit that form 15G, then there is no TDS and you are getting 0. You are allowed to submit form 15G if there is no tax liability, but if the payment is exceeding the basic exemption limit, 50 years, then that 15G will not be accepted. From senior citizen, we will accept 15H, but 15G will not be accepted if the payment is exceeding basic exemption. She can submit 15G if this amount was maybe less than the basic exemption limit. But here, because it is basic exemption, so 1.5 will be applicable and 4,800 will be your TDS. If she was 80 years, then we would have not deducted because not exceeding basic exemption. But she is 50 years. Payment is exceeding basic exemption. Therefore, TDS will get attracted. 15G facility is available only if this is not exceeding basic exemption. But that is not applicable to senior citizens. So, 15H can be accepted. It's all about revising the provisions properly and correctly. If you have studied the concept properly, then your marks are guaranteed over here. So, basically, these MCQ lectures are a guarantee of marks. But some people, sir, can we only watch this MCQ and get marks? You need to know all the sections, all the chapters, all the provisions. Otherwise, from tomorrow, people will say, acha, 25 marks guarantee. Chalo, let's watch this MCQ lectures. No need to study, no need to join any class. It does not work that way. I have taught people 43 chapters and thus those students are finding these questions easy. Try doing these questions without studying any chapter. Supposingly, you are a new student of CA final, never studied tax before, directly come to these questions. You will not understand a single word. I hope you understand. All the students of mine who are watching these lectures and finding this easy is because it depends on who you learn it from, and you have already studied direct tax in such detail that you are understanding these provisions. The tips and tricks we are discussing obviously. TDS is not required to be deducted in which of the following cases? Interest payment made by offshore banking unit to a non-resident. So, it is basically offshore unit to non-resident outside India, no TDS. Payment on behalf of NPS trust, again that is also not going to attract TDS. And payment to bank also does not attract TDS, and therefore all of the above, no TDS. Due date of payment of TDS, easiest of all, 7th of the next month. Partnership firm paid rent of 2,70,000 to Shraddha for machinery taken on rent. Once again, she furnishes declaration that tax is nil and therefore will there be TDS. Once again, she is a resident individual. She is furnishing form 15G. But now you know, if the payment is more than basic exemption, then form will not be accepted. TDS will come. If TDS will come, what is the rate? For machinery, it is 2.2%, but post-COVID, it will become 1.5%. And accordingly, the TDS that will be applicable is 4050. Due date of filing TDS return for the quarter ending 31st December. It is going to be 31st after the quarter. So, quarter ended on 31st, after that 31st of January. Due date of payment of TDS for month of March. Normally it is 7, but for March it is going to be 30th of April. Interest at dash percent is leviable per month or part of month, where TDS is deducted but not paid from the date of deduction till the date of payment. Non-deduction is 1%, but this is a case of non-payment. Non-payment will go in 1.5%. Due date for filing TDS return for the quarter ending 31st March. See, for 31st March, payment is made in 30th April, and therefore the return will be filed after that the 31st of May. So, 31st of May. Intimation with respect to processing of TDS return should be sent to the deductor specifying the tax liability or refund within. See, listen. This is same as your 143(1). Just like there is intimation in income tax return, there will be intimation here, and time limit is also same. What is the time limit of 143(1)? 1 year from the end of the year in which the return was filed, 1 year from the end of the year in which the statement was filed. Absolutely same. Non-furnishing of PAN by deductee in case of income by way of lottery card game would result in TDS being deducted. See, if PAN is not furnished, actual or 20, whichever is higher. For RPF MMR and for 194A 5%. But this is lottery. So 30 anyways is higher than 20. And whether you furnish PAN or you don't furnish PAN, 30%. Form 16A, that is your TDS certificate, should be issued within a period of after the due date of return. So first you pay by the 7th, return by the 31st, and then within 15 days you have to submit TDS certificate to the payee so that the payee can get credit. Seller is engaged in the sale of coal. TCS required to be collected by the seller is coal, lignite, iron ore, minerals 1%, but after COVID it will become 0.75. Just like TDS, in TCS also there is relaxation due to COVID, but that relaxation is not available in alcohol. It is not available in that new amendment where you have sent forex for tour purposes or remittances to authorized agent under the liberalized remittance scheme. No relaxation for that. And if PAN is not furnished, then as per 206 CC, the TCS becomes double of the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. But in that one of the new amendments, it will become 1%. Where the rate is 0.1, it will become 1%. Where PAN is not furnished, foreign remittances and alcohol, these cases, the relaxation won't apply. Otherwise, all other cases. So, Tendu leaves, timber, forest products, scrap, minerals, for sale of licenses of toll plaza, parking lot, mine or quarry, for sale of motor car, everywhere else the relaxation is going to be applicable. So 1% and 0.7. 206C1F provides that every person being a seller who receives any amount as consideration sale of motor vehicle exceeding dash lakh shall collect 1.1% up to 13th May and 0.75. What is that amount? For motor car, monetary threshold is 10 lakh. If it is more than 10 lakh, then TCS is going to be applicable. Mr. A seller sold car worth 15 lakh to Mr. B on 1/4/20. TCS required to be collected is going to be what? Turnover in the previous year of Mr. A is 105 lakh. That means last year turnover exceeded 1 crore. So this year he is required to collect TCS. And if the amount is exceeding 15 lakh rupees, 1%. And sir, pre-COVID, so 1% on the entire value. Not just on the excess over 15 lakh or over 10 lakh, but on the entire value, 1% of 15 lakh, that is going to be 15,000 rupees. Radha and Company, wholesaler of car, sold a car of 15 lakh to Sneha, a retailer, on 31st March 21. What is the TCS? Whenever the sale is to dealers, no TCS. Motor car TCS will come only if sale to consumer, and accordingly, there will be no TCS in this case. Due date for depositing TCS to the central government, just like TDS, TCS will also be deposited by the 7th of the next month. According to 206C1F, TCS at 1 or 0.75 is applicable. This is again motor car, and for motor car, the 10 lakh is for every transaction. So if I buy 2 cars of 8 lakh each, 16 lakh, no TCS. 1 car exceeding 10 lakh, each transaction you get 10 lakh limit. 206C1F, that is TCS at 1% on sale of motor vehicle, is to be collected by which of the following? Individual with turnover exceeding 1 crore, yes. Partnership firm, yes. Actually, this is same as the payer in ACHIJ of 194, that is TDS, 194 ACHIJ, and therefore all of the above. Due date for furnishing TDS statement for the quarter ended 31st March. That is, so payment will be by 30th April and the statement will be furnished by 31st of May. Due date for furnishing TDS statement for quarter ended 31st December. For 31st December, the due date is going to be 31st January. 31st after the quarter. And in March quarter, after March, the 31st directly comes in May. You can learn it like that also. Mr. A, an Indian resident, wins 10,000 in lottery. Which of the following statement is true? Tax 30%. He is resident. So that obviously 30.9 cannot apply. But the real truth is no tax because it is exact equal to 10,000, and 194B gets triggered only when it is exceeding rupees 10,000. Mr. A, a salaried individual, pays rent of 51,000 per month to Mr. B from June 20. Which of the statement is true? Salaried individual, so 194 I won't apply, but because more than 50, then IB will apply, and in IB it is going to be rent directly from the last month, 5%. Total rent of the year, but 5% from the last month, and post-COVID, because 31st March 21 will be post-COVID, so we will apply 3.7. No TDS, wrong, because IB is applicable. Every month 10%, wrong. Every month 5%, wrong. Last month, and why 3.75? Because it is post-COVID, March 21, last month. Salary paid by Messrs. RP and Company to its partner falls within the limit prescribed under 40B. Does RP and Company have to deduct TDS on salary paid to partner? Whenever there is transaction between firm and partner, there will be no TDS. That is what common sense says. But let's read the option. Yes, TDS is deducted. Wrong answer. No, salary paid to partner is not subject to TDS. That is our right answer. But as I have always told you that always read all the options when they are big questions. Yes, TDS is deductible under section 192 on salary paid to resident partners, but under section 195 to non-resident. And this option C Option C will give us an idea. They have said partner. This partner can be resident or non-resident. Resident, no need to deduct TDS. He will pay a self-assessment. But non-resident, listen, it is within the limit. That means firm has taken deduction. If firm has taken deduction, that means for the partner it is going to be taxable. And if the partner it is going to be taxable, then the payer has to deduct TDS. You, when you chose B as the answer, you did not think about the possibility of a non-resident partner. But now this point C has given us the idea. But for resident, there will be no TDS. So C is also wrong. Salary paid to resident partner, no TDS, and non-resident partner 195. B is right. If there was only resident partner, then B is right. But it is possible that there is a non-resident partner, and therefore D is the most appropriate answer. MCQ is about most appropriate. Air India Limited has paid amount of 20 lakh during the year ended 31st March 21 to Airport Authority of India Limited towards landing and parking charges. We all know this question is on Japan and Singapore Airlines. So TDS will get applicable under 194C. 194C, and that's 2 or 1.5%. Actually, option of 2 or 1.5 is only given due to pre-COVID and post-COVID. They have given year ended 31st March 21 and they have not given the date. Then 2 and 1.5 both will be applicable. Sir, why not 1% and 0.75? Because payee is other than individual HO. So pre-COVID 2 and after COVID 1.5. A Limited credited 28,000 towards fees for professional services and 27,000 towards fees for technical services to the account of RAM in its books of accounts on 12th November 2020. Total sum of rupees 55,000 was paid by check to RAM on the same date. Will there be TDS? Now, we know that every payment there is 30,000 threshold, and if every payment there is 30,000 threshold, individual payment has not exceeded 30,000, no TDS. You will not subject the total but individual payment. Mr. Hari, a salaried individual, pays rent of 55,000 per month to Mr. Raghav from June 20. Which of the following statement is correct? I will not apply, but IB will apply. Same as earlier, it was 51. Now it is 55. So no tax, wrong answer. 5% from every month, wrong. Last month. IB is always last month. 3.75% on entire rent paid of financial year 2021 from the rent of last month. This is right because 3.75 post-COVID rate, and deduct 55,000 from the rent payable for March. That is also wrong. It is going to be full year rent into 3.75 from the last month's rent. Mr. Arvind, engaged in the business of wholesale trade, has a turnover of 90 lakhs in the previous year 1920 and 210 lakhs in 2021. So last year it was less than 1 crore and wholesale, so we have to check 1 crore. This year it is exceeding. But for 194 AC HIJ, we don't have to see current year, we have to see last year. In 2021, he paid salary of 8 lakh to Mr. Hari, a resident without TDS, and commission of 25,000 to Mr. Rajesh, a resident without TDS. The disallowance in computing the business income will be how much? Now listen to me carefully. As far as salary is concerned, tax, audit, turnover, etc. is irrelevant. So TDS is deductible and not deducted. Therefore, resident pay, can I say 8 lakh into 30%, 2 lakh 40 will be disallowed. But when it comes to payment of commission, yes, it is exceeding the monetary limit of 15,000. But for 194 AC HIJ, last year turnover has to exceed 1 crore, which has not exceeded. So this commission will not be liable for TDS, and thus disallowance will come only and only on this 8 lakh rupees, and accordingly 8 lakh into 30%, 240 will be our answer. If you disallow entire 825, it will be wrong because only 30%. If you disallow 825 into 30, that will still be wrong. Sir, why still be wrong? Because 25,000 no TDS, 194H commission section, last year turnover has to exceed 1 crore. So not applicable. But on 8 lakh that rule is not applicable. So TDS will come and non-deducted, therefore 30% will be disallowed. Okay. ABC Limited took on sublease a building from Miss Janvi with effect from 1st July 20 on a rent of 20,000 per month. So I think that's 20,000 into 9, 1,80,000 rupees. That's the rent of building from July to March. No? It also took on hire machinery from Miss Janvi from 1st October at 15,000. So that will be 15,000 into 6. That's I think 90,000, and accordingly the total rent will become 2,70,000. ABC Limited entered into 2 separate agreements with Miss Janvi for sublease of building and okay, so this is the building rent, this is the machinery rent. Which of the following statements are correct with reference to ABC Limited's liability to deduct TDS, assuming that 1 month rent was received as security deposit, which is refundable? So, other than this 80, there was 20 deposit, and here also there was 15. So, totally there was 35,000 deposit also. 1 month rent, no? So, 1 month only on building or both? Assuming that 1 month's rent was received as security deposit. So, they have not specified 1 month for building or both. That means here also we will receive 20 as deposit, and here also we will receive 15 as deposit. Let's see. We know that the deposit of 20 and 15 will not attract TDS because it is refundable. Rent will attract. But what is the monetary limit? 240. Sir, this and this both are less than 240. But sir, the limit is not per asset. So if the total is more than 240, then there will be TDS on the building rent at 10% and on this at 2%. And if it is post-COVID, then we will change it to 7.5% and 1.5 respectively. But TDS will get attracted on this. Let's see. No TDS to be deducted as it does not exceed 240. Wrong answer, because we have to see total rent. It is not per asset. Tax has to be deducted on 7.5% on rent of 2 lakh including security deposit. I am not reading further. Tax has to be deducted but not on 2 lakh, only on 1 lakh 80. Security deposit not covered. Tax has to be deducted at 7.5% on 2 lakh and 1.5% on 1 lakh 5. Again wrong, because security deposit will not attract TDS. Tax has to be deducted at 7.5% on this 1 lakh 80 because it is post-COVID. So not 10 but 7.5, and 1.5% on this 90, and security deposit is not rent. So no TDS. This is going to be your correct answer. Mudra Adco Limited, an advertising company, has retained a sum of 15 lakh towards charges for procuring and canvassing advertisements from payment of 1 crore due to Cloud TV, a television channel, and remitted the balance 85. So we got 1 crore from customers. We are an ad agency. And we paid 85 lakh to the channel and we retained our 15 lakh. Which of the following statement is correct? So basically this is sale of airtime. There was a CBDT circular stating that if the money is collected by ad agency and then remitted to the channel, then TDS is not going to be applicable and thus there will be no TDS. But also refer to the recent case law Prasar Bharati, which is there in our case law, case law summary, Prasar Bharati case law, under which in Prasar Bharati's case, the ad agency was strictly acting as an agent. So the channel was giving instructions, whom to sell, whom not to sell, which ad to take, which ad not to take. If you are acting as an agent, then this CBDT circular will not apply, and as per new case law 194H will get attracted. But here it is only purchasing airtime from the TV channel, selling it to the customer like a trader. I am ad agency. I am purchasing ad time from the channel, selling it to customer, getting money from the customer and making reimbursement to the channel. Here I am independently trading. So as per CBDT circular, there will be no TDS. And in the new case law of Prasar Bharati, what happened was, I am an agent, but Doordarshan, which is owned by Prasar Bharati, that's the TV channel, that puts restrictions on me, and therefore I can act only as an agent. So such, if the fact will change, then TDS will get attracted under commission. But here there is going to be no TDS. Mr. X acquired a house property at Mumbai from Mr. Y, a resident, for consideration of 90 lakh rupees. Purchase of property, 50 lakh rupees or more, on 20th June. So 1%, but post-COVID, so 0.75%. On the same day, Mr. X made 2 separate transactions, thereby acquiring urban plot in Kolkata from Mr. C, 4950. Exact 50 lakh, yes TDS, but here no TDS. And rural agricultural land from Mr. D for a consideration of 60. This is more than 50, but Gadeda, this is rural agricultural land. So no TDS. So only on 90 lakh there will be TDS, other two no TDS. No TDS in respect of any of the three, wrong. TDS on all three, wrong. TDS at 0.75 on 90 lakh and 49 lakh 50, wrong. This part is right, but total statement is wrong. So only one option left. 0.75% on 90 and no TDS on the other two. Excellent. A notified infrastructure debt fund eligible for exemption under section 1047 of Income Tax Act 1961 pays interest of rupees 5 lakh to a company incorporated in a foreign country. So infrastructure debt fund to a foreign company 5 lakh. The foreign company incurred expenditure of 12,000 for earning. And the fund also pays interest of 3 lakh to Frank, who is a resident of country A and JA. Which of the following statement is correct? So when we are paying interest to this foreign company, we have to deduct TDS at 5%. Not on 488. Deduction of expense will not be available because special rate under section 115A. So under 115A, 5% TDS, obviously plus HEC, that depends if they give in the option TDS, but not on 488 because no deduction of expense in special rates. And when it comes to Mr. Frank, because he is in NJ, so 30%. So if HEC is given, we will give respect to that, that will become more appropriate. So for the foreign company 5% and for 5% but on entire 5 lakh, and for Mr. Frank 30%. No TDS, wrong. No TDS in respect of 5 lakh, wrong. TDS will come on both. So I am not reading further. TDS at 5.2% is attracted on 488. No deduction of expense. Here itself it is wrong. I am not reading further. TDS at 5.2% is attracted on interest payment of 5 lakh because no deduction of expense paid to the foreign company, and they have given inclusive of HEC. And 31.2% is attracted on payment to Mr. Frank, who is in NJA. That's your most appropriate answer. Mr. Valish, employed as manager with ABC Limited, pays rent of 50,000 per month to his landlord. Which of the following statement is correct? TDS at 10 or 5? 7.5? No. 5% or 3.75 every month? No. 3.75 on the annual rent from last month. Full year rent, deduct TDS from last month. Post-COVID 3.75. Your inner feeling will be saying, sir, this is right, this is right. Wrong. This is exact 50, and this is the importance of equal to and greater than. All throughout our classroom lectures, I have been telling students to be careful about this. It has to be greater than to attract TDS. Equal to is not going to attract TDS. I hope we are very, very clear on this. Question 18. Mr. Sanjay, a resident, and Mr. Andrew, a British citizen and a non-resident in India. So he is resident, but he is non-resident. Are both commentators deriving income of 5 lakh from sports comment. Tax is deductible at 194J from Mr. Sanjay. Sanjay is resident. So 194J, which covers commentator, referee, everyone. Correct statement. Tax is deductible at 194E from remuneration paid to Andrew. Andrew is a commentator. Then 194E cannot be applicable. E is applicable only for the payment covered in 115 BBA. That is Foreign National Sportsman, Sports Association, Entertainer. And therefore, here it is not applicable. Because he is a commentator, 195 will apply. Because he is a commentator, what will apply? 195. Andrew is not required to file his return if TDS is deductible. If he was a Foreign National Sportsman, Sports Association, then no TDS. 115A, AC, BBA and 115G. But he is going in normal rates and therefore wrong statement. And Sanjay is not required. Again rubbish. Sanjay also income is exceeding basic exemption. Which of the above statements are correct? Only 1 and 3 are correct, and 1 and 3 are given in option C. C is going to be our final answer. Apple Iron Limited paid 10 lakh to a lawyer on 1st August 2020 for the professional services rendered by him to the company without deducting tax at source. Again, another payment of 5 lakh was due on 31st December 2020. The company deducted tax this time before making payment for the entire amount. So, this TDS and this TDS both was deducted from 5 lakh. So, on 10 lakh, there is non-deduction, but on 5 lakh, non-deduction is not applicable. But you have to pay by the 7th of the next month. This entire TDS was remitted by the company on 30th March. So, on this, there will be non-deduction also and non-payment also. But on this 5 lakh, there will be only non-payment because deduction was done on time. What will be the interest chargeable? So, total they are asking non-deduction, non-payment and only non-payment. Deduction was done. What is going to be our interest calculation applicable? Question 119. Let's see. First payment is rupees 10 lakh. Remember, interest will never come on the payment amount. It will come on TDS. Normally for professional fees it is 10%, but post-COVID the TDS will become 7.5%. And likewise second payment 5 lakh. Normally it is 50, but post-COVID so 37,500. That means can I say this is the respective TDS amount which you fully deducted from 5 lakh. So from 10 lakh you did not deduct, because from 10 lakh you did not deduct. There will be non-deduction interest and there will be non-payment interest. But for this deduction took place, so non-deduction will not come, but for non-payment there is going to be interest. Let us see how we are going to calculate that interest. Let's see. Non-deduction. Principal will be the TDS amount. Rate will be 1%. And what is the period? From 1st August when we were supposed to deduct till 31st December. August, September, October, November, December. 5 months will give you 3750. And you should have paid immediately because this payment is due. But you paid when? 30th March. So 31st December to 30th January, 1 month. 30th Feb, but that date is not there. So on 20th February, second month, and 30th March, 3 months get completed, and thus it is only going to be 3 months. Going by some softwares which are erroneous, they take full December, Jan, Feb, March. Some softwares available in the market take 4 months, but that's wrong. You have to go by calendar date to date. That is what is followed by ICAI also, and thus it is going to be 3 months, but this time it will be 1.5 because non-deduction is 1%, non-payment is 1.5. 3375, and this 37,500, there is no interest for non-deduction, but non-payment will come 37,500, 1.5%, and period is in fact same. We can merge these two also if we want, and this will be 1687.5. So 3750 plus 3375 plus this, the total amount, obviously we can't take decimal, 8813, and that's your answer. 8813 will be your answer. The withholding tax obligation on payment for works contract by a resident to a foreign company deemed to be resident on account of poem. So you are a foreign company, and because you are a foreign company, then 195 is going to prevail. You may be resident due to poem, but for TDS 195 is going to be prevailing. Mr. A is running a steel factory. Total turnover of the factory during 1920 was 1.95. So he is covered in Achij because he is an individual. We have to check it. If it was a company, we would not check. And he opts for presumptive. Presumptive is allowed, but turnover we have to check. The estimated turnover for financial year 2021 is likely to exceed 2 crore. That is irrelevant current year. On 10th April, this is pre-COVID, he took consultancy of a Delhi-based chartered accountant, and the consultancy fees is 1,80,000. That's more than 30,000. Should Mr. A deduct TDS? If yes, what will be the amount of TDS, and by when? Same should be deposited. This is, first of all, he is covered in 194J. It is 10th April, so pre-COVID rate of 10%. And 10% of 180 will be 18,000. So not liable, cancel, this cancel. And in 18,000, if the TDS is applicable in 10th May, then the payment has to be made by the 10th April, then the payment has to be made by the 7th of the next month. That's 7th of May. An individual salaried employee constructed his house in Delhi. He made the payment to contractors and labor of rupees 2 lakh. However, he did not deduct any TDS. In this regard, which of the following statement is correct? Salaried employee is not covered under 194C because personal payment, no TDS. And when TDS is not attracted only, there is no question of disallowance interest. Yes, we have a section 194M which says if personal payment exceeds 50 lakh rupees, then there will be TDS. Any person not liable to deduct TDS under 194C, H and J for whatever reason, not liable under those sections, but making payment exceeding 50 lakh rupees, then 194M will apply. But this is only 2 lakh. So TDS not applicable. Amount paid to contractors liable for TDS wrong. Provision of 194C are attracted wrong. TDS under 194J wrong. No requirement of TDS, and thus no provision of penalty will be attracted. Assessee deducted and paid TDS of 10,000 in the quarter of 31st December 20, but the quarterly return of 31st December 20 was filed on 23rd March. What is the fees? Is there a delay? Yes. It should have been filed by the 31st of January, but we filed on 23rd March. So full February and full March. What is the fees? 200 per day. Let's calculate. 28 days of February. So last year's book it was 29. Some students feel, sir, we have watched last year's lecture, so we'll not watch again. Last year sum was different. It was 29 because it was 2020. 28 plus 23, 51 days, 200. 10,200 is also in the option. You may choose that, but disaster. The maximum fees will be to the extent of TDS in the quarter. It cannot exceed that. And I have given you both options. And very likely that you will go wrong. The answer is going to be 10,000 rupees. Mr. Sanjay, a salaried individual, paid brokerage of 5th Jan 21 to buy a residential house. See, he is salaried individual, so he won't be covered in H. But if not covered in H, you can come in M. But for M, it has to be more than 50 lakh. So Sanjay is not required to deduct TDS because not covered in H also and M also. His father, Mr. Hari, a retired pensioner. So he is also not covered in Achij because he is a pensioner. Makes contract payment of 15 lakh, 25 lakh and 12 lakh. So 15 and 25, 40, 40 and 12, 52 lakh on these different dates. For residential house, if it is residential house, you will not be covered in C. But if you are not covered in C and you are paying more than 50 lakh, then you will be covered in 194M. He is not covered in H, but not covered in M also because less than 50. He is not covered in C because personal, but covered in M because more than 50 lakh. Which of the following with respect to above payment, which is correct? Neither Sanjay nor Hari is required to deduct TDS. Wrong. We have decided Sanjay will not deduct, but Mr. Hari will deduct. Both are required to deduct. Wrong. Sanjay is required to deduct. Wrong. Mr. Hari is required to deduct, but Mr. Sanjay is not required to deduct. Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Brijesh are resident individual received 12 lakh each on 31st March 21 on maturity of life insurance policy, which was taken. Rajesh had taken on 31st March 12 and Brijesh had taken on 1/4/12. Sum assured was 10 lakh and annual premium was 1 lakh 10. Are the provisions of TDS attracted on the maturity proceeds? See, these dates will make a huge difference because Rajesh had taken the policy in 11/12, then the limit on premium will be 20% and Brijesh, the limit will be 10% and it will drastically affect your answer. Just the difference of one date. Let's see. First, let's talk about Mr. Rajesh. Sum assured is 10 lakh. The date of policy was 31st March 12 and thus limit applicable will be 20%. Premium is 1 lakh 10 and this is within the limit. Thus, Mr. Rajesh, there will be no TDS. So, yes, TDS is applicable for both Mr. Rajesh and Brijesh. Wrong. Wrong. At least this is wrong. No TDS on either Rajesh or Brijesh. We don't know. Brijesh we have to check. No TDS on Rajesh. No TDS on Rajesh. So, B, C, D till now we cannot eliminate everything. Now, let's go to Brijesh. 10 lakh. 1/4/12. So, now the limit is going to be 10% and 1 lakh 10,000. Here it was within 20% limit, but here it is more than 10% because it is 12/13 and therefore it is taxable, but not the entire amount. You are getting maturity of 12 lakh. Over the years, you have paid premium. You have paid premium over the years. How much premium you have paid? From, you can count 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, 9 years you have paid premium of 1 lakh 10. So, total received 12 lakh. Premium paid 990 and thus the taxable component is only 2 lakh 10. Some years ago 194 DA was applicable on this amount at 1%. But couple of years ago they changed this rule. They said we want to apply TDS on the taxable component. So TDS will come on this and they increase the rate to 5. But this is post COVID, so it will be 3.75 and accordingly TDS for Mr. Rajesh will be 0. But TDS for Mr. Brijesh will be 2 lakh 10 into 3.75. So, no TDS on either Rajesh nor Brijesh. Wrong answer. No TDS on Rajesh. Is deductible for Brijesh, but 9,000 is wrong again. No TDS is deductible at source on maturity proceeds received by Rajesh. Deductible for Brijesh and at 7875. This is going to be your answer. Question 126. Mr. Akash made following cash withdrawals during previous year 2021. Dates are given, amounts are given and banks are given. Multiple banks. Bank of India, Standard Chartered, Bank of India, Standard Chartered, Repco, SBI, Repco, Standard Chartered, Repco, SBI, Standard Chartered, SBI. Which of the above pairs are required to deduct? We know that whenever cash withdrawal exceeds 1 crore, then TDS is going to be applicable. If he has not filed last 3 years return, then after 20 lakh, but that is not given. If that is not given, then we have to go by the 1 crore rule. So all we are required to do is, we have to separate the banks, Bank of India, Standard Chartered, Repco and SBI, and individually we have to find out. So all you are required to do is make a table. In the table, write out. So I have already written. If you go and check the sum, Bank of India, there are 2 withdrawals, 70 and 50. So 120. If you check Standard Chartered, the withdrawals given, go in the order, check the question. 45, 15, 15, 15, 15. Then for check Repco, 60, 10, 20, 15. And then check SBI, 10, 75, 15. Accordingly, we get 120, 105, 105, 1 crore. This is exact 1 crore, no TDS. But these are exceeding 1 crore. Therefore, there will be TDS. So, Bank of India, Standard Chartered and Repco. Bank of India, Standard Chartered, Repco. This is given in your option C. And thus, your option C is going to be your correct answer. Mr. Gaurav, a resident, is due to receive 4.5 lakh on 31st March 21 towards maturity proceeds of LIC policy taken on 1/4/18. 1/4/18 means 29, 10% lagega, for which maturity sum assured is 4 lakh and this is more than the limit. In fact, it is more than 20% also. So it is going to be taxable. But once again, not the entire amount. No, he is getting 4 lakh 50. He has paid premium for 3 years, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21. So 1.1 into 3, Premium of 3 years 330. Taxable amount 120. Limit will be 10% more than the limit. So taxable amount of 120. And post COVID 3.75 will get applicable. And if 3.75 is applicable, then 1,20,000 into 3.75, 4,500 will be your TDS. 4 point. He is receiving when? He is receiving when? (31st March). He is receiving on the 31st of March. Receiving on 31st of March, and because he is receiving on 31st of March, so post COVID will be applicable, and post COVID 1,20,000 into 3.75, 4,500 is going to be your answer. Option C. Option C is going to be your answer. Just a small correction in the printed answer. B is printed, so there is a little correction that you have to make. It is going to be C is going to be your answer, not B. Okay. And last, Mr. Mahesh, 62 years, started 1 year recurring deposit of 40,000 per month at 8% per annum with ABC Bank on 1/4/20, and the deposit matures on 31st March 21. What is the TDS on the interest of 20,800? What is the total interest that he is earning? 20,800. If you want to see the calculation of how 20,800 is derived, he is earning 40,000, 8%. Because it is recurring, you have to take 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. So we have done a sum like this in our full course lectures also. That total divided by 12, the interest amount is going to be 20,800. And if the interest is 20,800, which is less than the monetary threshold, if it is less than monetary threshold, then TDS is not going to be applicable. It is going to be 0. So only this 127 option is C. You just make that correction. That was our chapter called TDS. 128 questions in our chapter TDS. The other upcoming chapters that we have, they are very, very small chapters and they are related to collection of TDS, at least till recovery proceedings. I think that I should cover them up and finish them within the same class. So what I will do is I will take you to the next chapter that we have, advance tax. As per section 208, obligation to pay advance tax arises when advance tax payable is how much? Exact 10,000 or more. Exact 10,000 will also attract liability of advance. Mr. Nagraj, age 65 years, has an income tax payable of 30,000 during 2021. Source of income was IFOS, capital gain, house property. So he is resident, 60 years or more, and no PGBP. Resident, senior citizen, no PGBP. Is advance tax payable? No. Such assessees, no advance tax. Interior decorator has opted for presumptive taxation under 44 ADA for AY 21-22. Then he is liable to pay? Yes, but only last. Specified profession, if you opt for presumptive, then only last installment. Likewise for 44 AD also, if you opt, then only last installment. Due dates of advance tax are what? 15 June, September, December, March. That's given in option A. And how much of the advance tax has to be paid? 15, 45, 75, 100. Again given in option A. Advance tax installment for assessee declaring income as per 44 AD. Both AD and ADA, only one installment, that is 15th of March. Mr. A, age 59 years, won 60 lakhs. And B, age 50 years, won 8 lakhs from lotteries. TDS under section 194B was deducted. And assuming that this is the only source of income for Mr. A and B, are Mr. A and B liable to pay advance tax? One mind says that, sir, TDS is deducted. And if TDS is deducted, then there is no question of payment of advance tax. But listen, TDS under 194B, because the payee is resident, will be only 30. But tax liability will be 30% plus some addition. So TDS amount is different from your liability. We calculate our liability. Then we see the TDS. If the difference, that is the final payable, if it is exact 10,000 or more, then it is assessee is liable for advance tax. Let's see what are we talking about. Mr. A, 59 years and B 50. Casual winning 60 lakhs and 8 lakh respectively. Basic tax 18,240. 30%. No basic exemption, no slab. Flat 30. Mr. A, open your eyes. 60 lakh rupees. Thus there will be 10% surcharge. Here no surcharge, less than 50. 4% HEC. So the total tax liability will come to these amounts respectively. And now when we check TDS, TDS will only be deducted at 30% of 60 lakh and of 8 lakh. TDS is only going to be 30%. And that means TDS is only going to be this amount. That is the basic tax amount. Only this is going to be deducted. That's 18 lakh and 240. Accordingly, final payable year is 259. Year 9,600. Is it less than 10,000? Then no need to pay any advance tax. But your advance tax will be applicable, and thus Mr. A is liable for advance tax. No, A and B not liable. Most students will choose this because TDS is deducted. But we have to see the final payable. Wrong answer. Yes, A and B are liable. No, both are not. A is liable, but B is not liable. Mr. Rajesh is engaged in the profession of technical consultancy and gross receipt is 45 lakh. Does not maintain books of account. That means he will obviously go in 44 ADA. He is also partner of LLP, Rajesh LLP, which carries on profession of technical consultancy, and gross receipt of the LLP is also 48 lakh. In 44 AD, LLP is not allowed, but your LLP is also allowed, and therefore LLP, because see, turnover less than 50 lakh and in specified profession, 44 AD allowed. AD is not allowed for LLP. This is allowed. Rajesh and Rajesh LLP have to pay entire advance tax before 15th March because they are in presumptive. This is only the right, but let's see. Rajesh does not have to pay advance tax. Wrong. Rajesh does not have to pay. Wrong. Rajesh has to pay before 15th March and LLP has to pay in 4. No. Both will go in 44 ADA and therefore both have to pay only up to 15th March. Exemption from payment of advance tax under 207 is available to which? Non-resident having income from property in India, no exemption. Resident senior citizen having no income. Resident 60 years, no PGBP. Resident 60 years, no PGBP. Right answer. Company liable for MAT? No. And presumptive 44 AD or ADA? Liable, though only last installment, but liable. And thus, the only assessee not liable is going to be B. Mr. Sarthak, a non-resident and age 65 years, is a retired person. Non-resident. Earning rental income of 40,000 per month from a property in Mumbai. So that will make it 480 and we give standard deduction. So ultimately liability will be, I think, nothing, only because of standard deduction it will reduce, or if at all there is some liability, very bare minimum liability, definitely less than 10,000. We can calculate if you want. He is residing in Germany. Apart from rental income, he does not have any other source of income. Is he liable to pay advance tax? Yes, he is liable. No, his liability is less than. You can compute if you want. 40,000 per month, 4,80,000 is his total income into 70% only, because 30,000 will be standard deduction. So that's only 336. First 250 exempt. Balance will be taxable at 5%, 86,000. And no rebate here because assessee is non-resident, so 5% plus 4%. $4,300 and HEC 4,472 you are getting. That's less than 10,000. So no, he is not liable to pay, as his liability is less than 10,000. No, he is not liable to pay advance tax in India, as he has no income chargeable under PGBP. That benefit, no PGBP 60 years, is available only if you are resident and he is a non-resident. This benefit not available. No, he is not liable as he is of the age 60 years or more. No, resident senior citizen. So this facility is also not available. Only because of the second point, that is less than 10,000. No need to pay any advance tax. Only reason behind this is the second point. There is no other reason due to which he will get the facility of non-payment of advance tax. The only reason is second point, that is liability is less than rupees 10,000. Let's go ahead. Next chapter, interest under section 234 ABC. Interest under section 234 ABC. Question number 1. When is interest under section 234A leviable? 234A. When 90% of the advance tax is not paid. No, that's for 234B. TDS is required to be deducted, but it is not deducted. That is no interest here. When return is not filed within the due date. For deferment of advance tax. So if you don't pay advance tax, it will be 234B. For delayed payment, it will be 234C. Non-payment or short payment of advance tax, that is going to be 234B. State whether true or false. No interest under 234A shall be charged on self-assessment tax paid by the assessee on or before the due date of return filing. No 234A interest, because that was the Supreme Court judgment in the case of which assessee? Dr. Pranay Roy. No need to pay any advance tax. True. Interest under 234B will be leviable when? Return of income, nothing to do. Refund is due, no. Advance tax, no. Where the advance tax is less than 90%. When regular assessment is made, interest under section 234B at 1% will be 1st April of the assessment year till the date of order. 1st April of assessment year till the date of order. Under section 234C, interest will not be levied if the second installment. So, normally it is 15% first installment. But if you pay 12, no interest. Likewise, second installment 45. But if you pay up to 36, no interest. Third installment of advance tax is not paid within the specified period. Interest will in this this is the easiest of all, because it is always 3, 3, 3 and 1. So third installment it will be 3. But if the fourth installment is not paid within the specified time, then it is going to be only interest for 1 month. 234D levies interest. When does 234D get attracted? When you take more refund than you are eligible for. Where refund granted under 143(1) is more than the refund which is eligible under 143(3). Assessee was required to file TDS for the third quarter. Assessee was required to file TDS for the third quarter on 31st January 2021. Third quarter is December quarter. TDS return is filed on 31st January 21. We all know that. But failed to file the same on the due date and filed only on 28 February. That's a delay of 28 days. Total TDS of the quarter was 5,000. What is the late fees? 28 into 200, 5,600, but not more than 5,000. See, this is also an option. This is also an option. You can be very close, but the answer is only 5,000. No, because it is only 5,000. Maximum to the extent of TDS in the quarter. Fees for default in furnishing the return of income will be 5,000 if the return is filed on or before. So, if you miss your due date, but up to 31st December, it is going to be 5,000. Demand of 10 lakh was issued. Appeal was also filed and tax amount was increased to 12 lakh. Then fresh notice. See, already 10 lakh we have given the demand notice. That demand notice is valid. So, now we have to give new notice only of 2 lakh rupees. Earlier demand notice has not become invalid. That 10 we have asked, and now if it is increased, then we will give you demand notice only for the additional amount of 2 lakh rupees. Mr. A, whose total income in financial year 2021 is 4 lakh 95, is required to file return, but filed on 2nd April 22. Then what? 2nd Feb, sorry, 22. April will be beyond the due date. 22. Late fees will be under 234F. See, if it is up to December, 5,000. After December, 10,000. But if income is up to 5 lakh, then there is only one fees, 1,000 rupees. Next chapter, refund. When will refund arise? When there is excess TDS? Yes, there will be refund. Excess advance tax? Yes, there will be refund. Tax originally paid is reduced? Yes, that means in all the cases, yes. Intimation generated under 143(1) would be deemed as notice? Yes, in the intimation they clearly write, if there is any amount payable, kindly make the payment. Then intimation is deemed to be a notice. Intimation, slip of tongue. All the claims of refund should be made in the prescribed form. Earlier there were two options. You can fill online form or you can fill ROI. But now there is only one option, filing of ROI. In case of clubbing, refund can be claimed by whom? In case of clubbing, that person in whose income the income of the other person is included. Where the refund is out of advance tax and the return is filed before the due date, then the period will be, because it is advance tax, means money was paid during the previous year, interest will start from 1st April of assessment year till the date of granting refund. 1st April of assessment year till the date of granting refund. Rate of interest on refunds to be payable to be assessee. Whenever the assessee will get interest, he will get interest at 0.5%. Amount of refund is increased due to order under 260 due to any appeal. Then the amount of interest, if refund is increased, then obviously the amount of interest will also increase. Where any refund is granted to the assessee under 143(1) and no refund is due, then assessee will be liable to pay. You have to return the money and you have to return it with 0.5% interest. Tax liability of Mr. Sunil for the financial year 1920 came to 1,54,000 and he has paid advance tax of 138 and TDS of 144. That's, I think, a total of 182 and 154 is the liability, and therefore how much refund? 28,000 rupees. He filed return on 30th July and claimed the refund. So he has taken the 28,000 refund. His assessment was completed under 143(1) and he was granted. But when? On 15th February. Subsequently, his case was selected for scrutiny and income was assessed under 143.3 as per assessment order. So refund was granted on 15th Feb, order came on 25th August. Income was recomputed after making certain additions and his revised tax liability was not 154, it was 176, and therefore his refund was only 6,000. But he has already taken a refund of 28. What's the excess refund? 22. That also the difference between these two amounts, excess refund 22. Whether he is liable to pay? Yes, this 22,000 only on the excess refund, not on the entire refund. 22,000, half percent. What is the period? Starting from the date of refund till the date of order. So 15th Feb to 14th March, 14th April, 14th May, 14th June, July, 14th August, and then 11 days will be counted as 1 month. So 7 months. 22,000, half percent, 7 months. Sunil will be liable to pay interest on excess refund. 22,000, half percent, 7 months. That is only right. Liable to pay interest, not liable, wrong answer. Liable to pay interest on excess refund at 1%, no, half percent. Liable to pay on 28, no, not on the entire refund. So this is only the right answer, that is 22. Excess refund, half percent. And only this one question in recovery proceedings. Mr. Raju is leaving India for USA on 10 June 20 and it appears to AO that he has no intention to return. Then before leaving India, Raju will be required to pay income tax on income earned obviously during 1920 and income that he has earned during these 2 months and few days, April, May and 10 June. He has to pay tax because if there is risk of recovery, we will not allow you to go, and C will be your answer. So we have finished a good number of questions, almost about 150 questions we have done today, and this happens fast because the sum based questions I have already solved for you. Upcoming chapter, very important, transfer pricing. We will be doing it in the next episode. So thank you very much everyone for watching this episode number. This was episode number 7. I will take you in DT with an exemption, 7th heaven. Let's now meet to do something really important. Our transfer pricing will come, and then we go to volume 3 where salary, house, property you may treat that as little less important. Agreed, but if you do the MCQ, it will serve as revision. And I will start PGBP. PGBP alone has about 340 questions, 340 odd questions. I cannot complete in one class, so I will do transfer pricing, salary, house, property and little part of PGBP, so that in the second part, that's episode 9, I can complete PGBP, and maybe in episode 10, all the remaining chapters like capital gain, clubbing, set of deductions, IFOS may not be able to do in 10, but at least in 11. So very important things coming up. Stay tuned, stay connected. See you in the next episode number 8. अभी क्या rhyming बनाओ रे poem? Go to the exam straight, bring your exemption and we will celebrate. Wow. Chalo. See you in the next episode. Thank you very much. All the best.